would you point to the tough goal that Kiprusoff gave up on Naslund, the 2-1 lead for Vancouver?
Well, that was a tough goal. Certainly atypical for his ability from that distance, that angle. I'm sure he'd like to have it back, but pretty soft second period. So those wins aren't coming very quickly.
Past, you've been known to pull the goalie from time to time. After that one, consider it?
No, not at all. And even if I had, I couldn't have, because the truth of the matter is McElhinney was hurt. And if he had ever hurt, he got hurt in the warm-up.
You didn't want to sign me?
I'd have to sign you. Daryl would have to sign you. We actually
so you'd rather have him hurt back up?
We went to the officials before the game and got clarification from them that if Kiprusoff was hurt, we would have had to put probably Peters or Hale in.
Veterans haven't remembered to work hard. Have you told them such?
I have, and we addressed that 2 weeks ago, that they have high expectations of themselves. Their experience, they can count on it, but their application, they've forgotten what you have to do to be successful in this league, and that's begin with the work and the execution and the consistency. Certainly a little bit of a new group, but they're going to have to rely on that experience to draw back the enthusiasm and the vigor for the consistency. We started strong, but you can't let up in this league, as you saw tonight.
Mike, how surprised were you to get the call from Daryl Sutter this summer?
Well, actually, I was surprised, quite frankly, and pleasantly surprised. I didn't know whether, you never know whether you're going to get back in the league or not. And I'm not comparing myself to Bowman, but you know, Bowman was out for 4 years, which is unbelievable that no one would even pick up the phone and call this guy. And different scenarios. I've come in and under a lot of circumstances where the team wasn't going well, and you're the quick fix. Well, it's difficult to find that solution under those circumstances. I haven't really been at a training camp except for 1 year in about 10 years.
But on that topic, we've been asking the same question basically for a decade. I recall the day you were hired by the Vancouver Canucks, which was your 5th team. I met you coming off the bus in Anaheim for your first game.
Yeah.
And the question then was, Mike, were you surprised to get back in it, this being your 5th team? Now that you're up to your 8th, I'm not going to ask you that again, but I will ask you.
Well, Roger Nielsen was one,
yeah?
one more than me. So.
Was he one more team?
Yeah.
You have those 2 games in Ottawa,
He's
right?
a good
Bless
man.
his soul.
Yeah, absolutely. But the question is this. Why do you think you keep getting hired?
Well, in this case, Daryl has a history with me, and I can tell you why I got hired in Vancouver. I got hired because of Mark Messier, and I got hired in Florida because of Pavel Bure, players that had played for me that seemed to be confident in my ability to coach hockey clubs, would go and support that idea. In this case, it was a person that I worked with and coached many of his brothers that felt I could help.
Well, that goes back to your association in 91, 92, right?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, you know what?
In Chicago.
I asked Daryl this very question last week. Why Mike Keenan? You know what he told me? He said because he's a real good man. Are you bothered at all by probably not that many people know that about you?
I appreciate that, and yeah, the Iron Mike thing has taken on a life of its own, so there's not much room for error, and certainly there's always discussion and controversy, and has been for years now, so it's something that you have to deal with, but I appreciate Daryl's comments.
Does it bother you that fans and media in Calgary and in other cities before you stopped here, they'd be saying, hey, Iron Mike's here, it's only a matter before there's trouble?
Yeah, it does bother me because I'm a passionate person and a passionate coach and always have been, and expect the same from my players. And I don't think you can play this game successfully and win in this league. You're asking for abnormal behavior. Average doesn't cut it. You never win the Stanley Cup. You don't get to the playoffs if you play average hockey. And I'm not going to hide away and say that I'm not passionate about what I'm doing, and that's part of the price you have to pay. I've been around the best, the absolutely best players in this game, and that's how they play. They play with passion, and they have high expectations of themselves, and they have high expectations. The category is a developmental team, or team that's developing a contending team, and then a team that had some success and maybe got in the playoffs, and then favorites.
Which is this?
And there's a favorites team. I don't know yet. trying to figure it out myself, and everybody tells me that they're possibly a contender moving towards a favorite, but we certainly haven't acted like it.
When you were a lot younger, I mean, you took over the Philadelphia Flyers when you were 34, there or in Chicago. How much tougher would a loss like this have been to take?
Well, I'll tell you a true story. I don't know if I'm proud of it. I'm not proud of it, but in Philadelphia, I went right to the exit, got my car, and drove home. I didn't even go to the press conference.
So you get fined for that now.
You would get fined for that today, yeah. So I was fairly intensive, and yeah, I'm really disappointed and upset that we didn't win tonight. But it doesn't mean that it's. I don't think I take it as personally as I did before. I took it very personally when we didn't have a successful night, and maybe crossed the line a little bit in terms of doing
Personal in the
like
sense that you blamed your players or
I would
yourself?
blame myself for a lot of the times for letting them down or not being sharp or maybe not doing the right thing in terms of helping them get prepared, particularly when we had a young group, the youngest group in pro sport, not just hockey. So it was an interesting evolution of a great group of young guys that really talk about committed group. Wow.
Mike, Luke in Edmonton wants to know, you've come and gone from many NHL jobs in your career. Do you regret any decisions that you have made?
Oh, yeah. Many times. Many times. You can't, there's an old saying, you can create your reputation in 20 years and it takes you 5 minutes to destroy it. And I've been very aggressive at times particularly when I was young, in terms of maybe not stepping back and taking a deep breath and saying, let's reload and get at this again.
Yeah.
But again, that's that passionate Irish aspect of my life. I guess I don't know if you should apologize
Right.
about being passionate, but you have to sort of, you're supposed to be the leader.
Yeah.
And that's the disappointing aspects that I would have a criticism of myself at times. I should step back and be the leader.
How do you react when you see players that you've coached in the past?
You know, it's funny, and this goes to your question. Many, almost all, but not all, I'd say a good 80–90% of them embrace what we did.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment to our coaching staff and the way that they wanted to get at it to be winners. And there's a few guys that didn't, but they didn't really want to get involved and make the commitment to begin with in many cases. Not in all, but in many cases. But the players that played for me in the past, most of them had embraced and have embraced what we...
Oh, actually, well, I'm sorry. I thought we were going to the Rochester stuff where you won the
That is
the Calder Cup.
Rochester.
Yeah,
That is
okay,
Rochester.
right. This is...
Yeah. That's Tim Kerr, and that's Brian Prop.
Okay,
Yep.
and this is...
Yep, this is, oh my God, where'd you get this? Yeah. That's a rock and roll band, by the way. They're still
Nick and the
alive.
Nice Guys.
They're still doing
Yeah.
well, and playing out of Rochester, New York, where there's a great music school. So
Okay.
they've done a super job staying alive.
We'll get back to that in a
like
second.
my career, I guess.
Yeah. Here's what I was talking about. This is when you won
yes,
the Calder Cup,
Yeah.
Rochester.
Yvonne Lambert was a big part of that. Bobby Mongrain was our captain. I could name every player in that team right now.
Cool.
Let's
Who's
just-
your goalie?
Buche.
Oh.
Let's just listen to a part of
Wear
this.
Suit the next day on the steps of City Hall when he addressed the people of Rochester.
To the people of Rochester, we feel like a very privileged group. Those people that work in and day out, grind it in to make their existence, to make their living. We have the privilege, the pleasure of playing in front of the people in Rochester, and very few of us can have their work acknowledged as it's being acknowledged today.
And that was back in 1983. I'm sure it's still vivid for you.
It is very vivid. Anytime you win, as I said, I could name every player in that team. I could pretty much name every player in every team I played.
You were the
Number
vocalist,
88.
right?
I was one of them. I tried to be, anyway.
Were you good?
Depends who you were asking.
Is there drinking involved?
No, never. I hope for the people listening.
That's what I meant.
They wouldn't know.
Hey, Kelly and I sound a lot better when the audience is drinking as well.
I was in Vancouver, actually, at the Yale House, which is a
Yeah, I know where it
pub,
is.
and I was sitting with a fellow, and they asked me if I could come up and sing. I said, only if I could bring my buddy.
Yeah.
And they said, do you have to? I said, I'm not going up unless you do. Let me take my buddy. So I said, can I borrow one of your guitars? And I handed it to my buddy. And my buddy, I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Glenn Fry.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're kidding?
No.
From the Eagles.
So I stepped off the stage, needless to say, he played for an hour and the place went crazy.
He loves hockey.
He does.